The silent, melodic KeanuReeves stood by the wide glass window of his Los Angeles home, a cup of black coffee in hand. Outside, the sky was soft and gray, the morning quiet except for the slow hum of a street cleaner passing by. His daughter, Lily, sat in her wheelchair near the garden. She was 14, with big eyes and a smile that could melt stone, though she hadn't walked in over 2 years. A terrible accident had changed everything. It happened one night on their way back from a school recital. A truck swerved, brakes screamed, and when Keanu opened his eyes, Lily was crying, unable to feel her legs. The doctors said her spinal cord was damaged. They said there was hope. But Keanu stopped listening after the third surgery. Hope began to sound like a word doctors used when they didn't know what else to say. But Lily never gave up. Every morning, she rolled herself to the garden, played her music, and dreamed of dancing again, even though her legs didn't move. Her heart still danced. This morning was different. Keanu noticed something as he looked out. Lily wasn't alone. Beside her was a boy maybe 15 or 16 wearing worn-out shoes and a patched hoodie. He stood on the stone path barefoot, headphones around his neck, holding Lily's hand. And he was dancing. Not the kind of dancing you see in music videos. It was slow, gentle, careful. Every step he took, every movement of his arm looked like he was inviting Lily into the rhythm. Lily sat in her wheelchair smiling, her fingers moving slightly to mimic the boy's graceful moves. It was like he was dancing for both of them. It didn't feel like performance. It felt like healing. Keanu stepped outside quietly. The boy didn't notice him at first. Lily did. She looked up, eyes wide. "Dad," she said softly. The boy stopped and turned, clearly startled. "I'm sorry, sir," he said quickly. "I didn't mean to. I was just..." She said she liked music. "I thought I'm sorry." Keanu didn't say anything at first. He just looked at the boy's eyes. There was no fear of punishment, just shame, like he'd done something wrong by trying to bring someone joy. "What's your name?" Keanu finally asked. "Miles," the boy said. "I live 2 streets away, behind the hardware store." Keanu looked at Lily. Her eyes pleaded. "He's my friend, Dad," she said. "He comes sometimes. He dances, and it makes me feel like I'm not stuck." Miles lowered his head. "I won't come again if it's not okay." But Keanu's voice was gentle. "I didn't say that." He motioned toward the bench. Miles hesitated, then sat. Keanu sat beside him. "How did you meet Lily?" Miles looked down at his hands. "I was walking by a few months ago. I heard music. She was sitting out here. I just waved at first. She waved back. Then we started talking through the fence. She said she used to dance before the accident, and I said, I dance too." Keanu looked surprised. "You're a dancer," Miles shrugged. "Not trained or anything, just on the street, at school." "Before I had to leave. I don't go to school now." Keanu's heart tightened. "Why?" "My mom's sick. Works 2 jobs, sometimes none. I help out. Take care of my little brother." Lily chimed in. "He showed me videos. He's amazing, Dad." Keanu nodded slowly. "And you came here, just to dance with her?" "No one ever watches me," Miles said quietly. "But she did, and she smiled. So I kept coming back." The silence that followed wasn't awkward. It was full. Keanu stood up. "I want you to keep coming." Miles looked up. "But from now on," Keanu added, "you're not dancing in the cold with holes in your shoes. You're not skipping meals, and you're not hiding. You're a friend of this family now." Miles blinked, unsure how to respond. But Lily rolled forward and said softly, "I told you he'd understand." Keanu put a hand on the boy's shoulder. "You gave my daughter something no doctor could. Hope." That night, Keanu didn't sleep. He kept replaying the image of Miles dancing for Lily in the garden. He saw how Lily smiled, how her hands moved slightly with the rhythm. Something stirred inside him. A thought that maybe, just maybe, this boy and his simple kindness had sparked something the doctors could in single quotes T. And Keanu knew then. This was only the beginning. Asterisk a pair of shoes and a silent promise. Next morning, Keanu woke up early. He walked into the kitchen and saw Lily already sitting by the table, her sketchpad open in front of her. She was drawing something with deep focus, her brows furrowed, her hand steady. He poured himself some coffee and watched her for a moment. "What are you drawing?" he asked. Lily looked up, smiled, then turned the pad toward him. It was a sketch of Miles mid-dance, arms extended, his hoodie fluttering like wings. She had drawn it from memory. "You really like him, don't you?" Keanu said gently. Lily nodded. "Not in that way, Dad. I just feel seen when he's here, when he dances. It's like he's telling my legs, 'You're not forgotten.' No one's ever done that." Keanu sat down beside her. He said he had to drop out of school, and he's taking care of his little brother. Lily's eyes filled with worry. "He told me his shoes hurt. He's been taping the soles with duct tape." Keanu placed a hand on her arm. "I noticed. We'll do something." Later that afternoon, Keanu went out alone. He didn't send his assistant. He didn't want it to be a transaction. He wanted it to mean something. He visited a local shoe shop, the kind that had been around for years, run by a soft-spoken man named Mr. Tobias. "I need the best shoes you have for a street dancer." Keanu said. Tobias smiled. "Ah, you're looking for ones with good flex, strong grip, soft interior. Not just looks, for someone who really moves, yes?" Keanu nodded. "They're not for me." He bought 2 pairs, one for now, one for later. He also stopped by a grocery store and picked up some food supplies. Finally, he made one last stop, a second-hand bookstore. He bought 2 blank notebooks and a few pens. By evening, he walked over to the alley behind the hardware store. It was quiet, except for the sound of soft music from an open window above. A woman coughed in the distance. Keanu knocked on the old, worn-out wooden door. After a moment, it opened slightly. Miles stood there, surprised. "Mr. Reeves?" Keanu smiled. "I figured you might be here." Miles looked behind him, nervous. "My mom's asleep, long shift. I was just making soup." Keanu handed him the grocery bag. "Then this will help." Miles looked inside and froze. Canned goods, fruits, bread, cereal, even milk. "I can't take this," he whispered. "Yes, you can," Keanu replied. "You helped my daughter. Let me help you." Miles didn't speak for a moment. Then he stepped aside. "Do you want to come in?" The place was small. 2 rooms, a small sofa, an old TV, a drawing made by a child taped to the fridge. The kitchen was neat. Clearly, Miles had tried to keep things clean. A small boy peeked out from behind the curtain. "Milo, who is that?" "This is my brother, Jaden," Miles said. "Jaden, this is a friend." Keanu knelt down and waved. "Hi, Jaden." The boy smiled shyly and ran back behind the curtain. Keanu sat on the sofa. "I brought you something else too." He opened the box and took out the shoes. Miles stared. "Are you serious? You need to dance without hurting your feet," Keanu said. "These are yours." Miles slowly reached out, touched the shoes, and then suddenly hugged them to his chest. "I've never owned anything like this." Keanu looked at him. "You're talented. You gave Lily joy, and you're kind. You deserve support, not struggle." Miles sat down beside him. "I want to help Lily more, but I don't know how." Keanu placed the 2 notebooks on the table. "Write, dance, show her your world. Let her write back. You two can share stories, movement and words." Miles nodded. "Slowly," she said once, "when she hears music, it feels like walking in a dream. Maybe if I keep dancing, she'll believe she can move again." Keanu felt something shift in his chest. "Then don't stop." As he left their small apartment, Keanu looked back once more. Miles stood at the door, holding the shoes in one hand, waving with the other. Jaden peeked out again, giggling. Keanu smiled. Something was beginning to grow here, not just hope, but connection. When he returned home, Lily was in the garden again. The sun had begun to set, and soft music played from her speaker. "He'll be back tomorrow," Keanu said. Lily turned to him. "Really? With new shoes and a full belly?" He added. Her eyes lit up. "You did that, didn't you?" Keanu shrugged. Maybe not. Maybe someone else just recognized a dancer when he saw one." Lily laughed. "He told me he wants to choreograph a routine. For me, for us." Keanu sat beside her. "Then you'll need a dress." She looked at him. "Every dancer needs a costume." He smiled. Lily leaned her head on his shoulder. "You're the best dad," Keanu whispered. "No, I'm just trying to keep up with the best daughter." And that evening, as Lily wrote her first letter in the notebook for Miles, something quiet but powerful was happening. Two young souls were building a bridge through rhythm, kindness, and shared pain. And Keanu knew the world didn't need grand heroes. Sometimes it only needed a boy in worn shoes and a girl in a wheelchair who dared to dance. The choreography of Courageth. Next morning, Lily sat in the garden earlier than usual. She had brushed her hair, put on her favorite hoodie, and even dabbed a bit of lip gloss, something she hadn't done since the accident. She held the notebook Keanu had given her, filled with her first letter to Miles. The pages smelled like hope. The gate creaked. She turned. Miles stood there, wearing the new shoes, clean jeans, and a simple gray shirt. His face looked different today, brighter, more open. He carried the second notebook in his hand. "Ready?" he asked. Lily nodded. "I wrote you something." Miles smiled and handed her his notebook. "So did I." They switched. "I can't promise mine's good," she said, flipping it open. "I don't want good," Miles replied. "I want you." As she read the first lines, her lips parted in surprise. He had written about their first day, how she had smiled when he first waved, how he thought her eyes looked like they had their own music, and how, when she clapped along during his dance, it felt like applause from heaven. Lily didn't speak. She just reached for the speaker, pressed play, and turned up the volume. "Can we try something?" she asked. Miles stood tall. "Anything." She lifted her hand. "Hold it." He gently took her hand. She moved her other arm slightly, guiding him in a small circle. He followed, stepping to the beat, leading with grace, but letting her feel like the one in control. "That's it," Lily whispered. "Keep going." From the upstairs window, Keanu watched silently, hands resting on the curtain. He saw them move, not perfectly, not in sync, but in a rhythm all their own. A boy and a girl writing a story with each step. And turned out later that day, Miles asked if they could film the dance. "For who?" Lily asked. "For us," Miles said. "But maybe one day, for others too." They set up a small tripod. Keanu helped, making sure the camera caught the garden, the sunlight, the beauty of the moment. Take after take, they tried. Lily would lift her arms. Miles would spin beside her. They even added a moment where she touched her wheelchair's wheel, like she was steering through a dance floor. "It's like floating," she whispered during one take. "You are floating," Miles said. At the end of the day, they reviewed the video. Lily cried softly. "What's wrong?" Keanu asked, kneeling beside her. "It's the first time I saw myself and didn't feel broken," she said. Keanu kissed the top of her head. "Because you're not. You're just becoming." The next day, something unexpected happened. Keanu received a call. It was from a friend of his, Jessica, who ran a small non-profit for children with disabilities. She had seen the video. Somehow, someone had shared it, probably Miles's little brother, who had a habit of posting everything online. "Keanu," Jessica said, "I've seen hundreds of performances, but nothing like that. It was raw, honest, beautiful. Are they doing more?" Keanu looked at Lily and Miles, now working on another piece in the garden. "I think so," he said. "I want to feature them in our fundraiser event, not to raise money, to raise hearts." Keanu turned to the pair and shared the news. Miles froze. I've never danced on a stage. You danced in our backyard and made the world stop." Keanu said, "That's more than any stage." Lily nodded. "We can do this." They had 2 weeks to prepare, every day after school. Hours, or in Miles's case, after helping his mom and brother, he'd come over and they'd work. Keanu watched, sometimes silently, sometimes helping to time the beats, sometimes simply holding the camera as they practiced. It wasn't just about steps. It was about learning trust. When Lily let Miles spin her chair, when Miles let Lily guide the choreography, when both let the silence between them speak louder than the music. One night, after rehearsal, Miles stayed back. He was quiet, staring at the moon. "What's on your mind?" Keanu asked. "When I was small," Miles said, "I used to believe I'd become something big, like a star. Then life got hard, and I stopped dreaming. And now," Keanu asked. Miles looked down. Now, because of Lily, I believe again. But I'm scared. What if I mess it up? What if people laugh? Keanu put a hand on his shoulder. Then they don't deserve the show. But many will cry. Many will heal. Many will see themselves in you. Miles nodded. I don't want fame. I just want to make her proud. You already did, Keanu said. And when Miles left that night, Keanu looked up at the moon and whispered a quiet thank you to whoever had sent this boy to their doorstep. Days passed. The night of the fundraiser arrived. Keanu, in a simple black suit, wheeled Lily backstage while Miles adjusted his new costume, a light shirt, flexible pants, and the same shoes Keanu had bought him. You both ready? Keanu asked. Lily nodded. We don't have to be perfect, Dad. We just have to be real. And as the lights dimmed and the music started, Miles stepped onto the stage, turned back, and reached for Lily. The crowd didn't know what to expect, but what they saw would stay with them forever. When silence turned into thunder, the crowd sat still. The music began low, just a soft piano melody echoing across the quiet hall. Miles stepped forward first, his feet light, his body flowing like water. His arms moved with intention, not just performing but reaching, offering something unseen. Then Lily came into the spotlight. Keanu wheeled her onto the stage gently, and as the music swelled, Miles knelt and held her hand. The lights dimmed around them until only the two of them remained in focus. The wheelchair didn't feel like a barrier anymore. It felt like part of the performance. The music shifted. Lily raised her arms, and Miles followed her lead. She turned her wheels in rhythm while Miles danced beside her. Every movement in sync, not just choreographed, but connected. The audience watched in silence, hearts caught between awe and emotion. A young girl in the front row whispered to her, Mom, she looks like a queen. And she did. Midway through the piece, Lily extended her hand. Miles spun, slid, and lifted himself into the air, then landed softly beside her. Every move said, I see you, I honor you, we're in this together. When the final note played, Miles knelt beside Lily, placed his hand on his heart, and looked up at her like she was the one who saved him. For a full 5 seconds, there was no sound. Then, applause. Loud, rising, shaking the hall. Some people stood, others wept. No one remained untouched. Keanu, watching from the wings, felt something crack open inside his chest. Not sadness, not pride. Something bigger, something like grace. Backstage, Lily was crying softly. Did we mess up? She asked Miles. No, he said, tears running down his own cheeks. We told the truth. A woman in a red dress approached them. Her name was Dr. Samira Khan, a neurologist who volunteered at children's hospitals. She had been in the audience. Your performance, she said gently, wasn't just moving. It was healing. Lily looked up. Healing, Dr. Khan nodded. I've seen children give up. But if they see this, see what you just did, they might try again. She turned to Keanu. Would you allow this to be shown in hospitals? Not for profit, just for hope. Keanu looked at Lily. She nodded without hesitation. Yes, Keanu said, as long as it helps someone. Later that night, after the event, they returned home. Miles stayed back to help Keanu carry Lily upstairs. She was tired but happy, resting her head on Keanu's shoulder as he tucked her into bed. I felt like I could fly tonight, she whispered. You did, he said softly. You soared. Downstairs, Keanu offered Miles some tea. They sat in the dim kitchen, the moonlight slipping in through the window. You've changed her life, Keanu said. Miles shook his head. She changed mine. Keanu took a deep breath. Have you ever thought about going back to school? Miles looked down. Sometimes. But I can't. My mom still needs help. Jaden too. Keanu reached into a drawer and pulled out an envelope. What's this? Miles asked. A scholarship. A real one. I talked to a friend at an arts academy. They saw your video. They want you. Miles's eyes widened. And for your family, Keanu added, I've arranged help. A job for your mom at one of my friend's cafes. Full-time, flexible hours. And Jaden, he'll be enrolled in a local school with support. You don't have to choose anymore. Miles couldn't speak. His throat tightened. Tears filled his eyes. "Why are you doing this?" He finally whispered. Keanu looked at him, his voice steady. "Because you didn't wait to be someone. You chose to show up for my daughter, for yourself, and now it's our turn to show up for you." Miles stood. He didn't say a word. He walked over to Keanu and hugged him tight. Keanu held him back just as strongly. And in that moment, there was no actor, no street boy, no broken pasts, just two humans who had found family where they least expected it. A few days later, something unexpected happened again. The video of Lily and Miles's performance had gone viral. Millions of views. People from around the world, mothers, veterans, young dancers, and children in hospitals sent messages. One comment read, "I haven't walked in 5 years. After watching this, I rolled to my mirror, smiled at myself for the first time in a long time, and promised I'd dance with my arms." Another said, "I'm a boy from a small village in Brazil. I don't have shoes, but I have rhythm. Thank you, Miles. I believe now." News channels reached out. Interviews were requested. Offers came from talent shows and agencies. But Keanu, Lily, and Miles said no to all of them. "This wasn't for fame," Lily said in a video statement. "It was for healing, and we want to keep it that way." They decided to create something instead. A movement. A program, Dance in Silence. It would bring street performers, disabled kids, artists, and dreamers together to collaborate, perform, and inspire others without chasing spotlight, just heartlight. The day the world listened, weeks passed, and the movement Dance in Silence began to grow beyond anything they imagined. What started in a backyard garden had now spread to schools, hospitals, and community centers across the country. People were uploading their own Dance in Silence videos, kids with braces on their legs, old veterans in wheelchairs, young girls dancing beside their blind brothers, and even dancers from different countries moving to the same music. Lily and Miles had first performed to. Keanu watched it all unfold with quiet wonder. He wasn't the star anymore. Lily and Miles were, and they didn't care about being known. They cared about being felt. One morning, Keanu walked into Lily's room with breakfast. She was staring at her phone, silent, her face unreadable. "What is it?" he asked, setting the tray down. She looked up slowly. "Dad, you need to see this." He leaned in. A message had come in through the Dance in Silence page. It was from a hospital in Japan. A teenage girl who had lost her ability to speak after a traumatic brain injury had watched Lily's performance. Her nurse wrote, after the video ended, she looked at me and whispered, "I want to dance too." It was the first word she had spoken in 9 months. Keanu sat down on the edge of her bed, stunned. Lily reached for his hand. "This is bigger than us now." Meanwhile, Miles had been teaching kids in his neighborhood how to dance, not for money, not for recognition, just for joy. Some of the kids had never smiled so much before. Keanu came to visit one of those sessions. He stood by the edge of the basketball court where they practiced. Miles moved through the group, guiding one kid at a time, helping them find their rhythm. One boy fell. Miles helped him up and whispered something in his ear. The boy smiled. Keanu asked later, "What did you tell him?" Miles replied, "I told him falling is part of the dance. What matters is you rise in rhythm." The next big moment came unexpectedly. A world-famous dance company reached out. They had seen Lily and Miles's video and wanted to invite them to perform at an international event in Paris. Miles froze when he heard Paris. He whispered, I don't belong there." "Yes, you do," Lily said firmly. But Miles hesitated. "What if I fail? What if I get there and they all see I don't have training?" Keanu looked at him gently. "Miles, training can shape talent, but heart shapes greatness, and your heart has already moved the world." After some hesitation, Miles agreed. A few weeks later, Keanu, Lily, Miles, and Jaden boarded a flight together. It was Jaden's first time in the air, and he squealed with joy when the plane lifted off. Miles held his hand the whole time. They arrived in Paris to a small hotel arranged by the event organizers. The performance was to be held at a grand theater that held more than 2,000 people. When they walked into the theater for rehearsal, Miles stood in the center of the stage. Looking up at the lights, his eyes wide. This is bigger than anything I've ever known, he whispered. Lily rolled next to him. We've danced in a garden. We've danced in silence. We've danced with truth. That's all this stage needs. They rehearsed for 2 days. The final performance was to be broadcast live across multiple countries. The pressure was heavy. Backstage, before the event, Miles sat on the floor, lacing his shoes. He was shaking slightly. Keanu knelt beside him. Miles, he said softly, look at me. Miles looked up. Do you remember what you told the boy who fell? Miles nodded slowly. I told him rising in rhythm is what matters. Then rise now, Keanu said. Not for them, for her, for you. On stage, as the lights dimmed and the music began, the world watched. Miles entered first. Then, Lily. The choreography was new, designed just for this night. It told their story. A boy on the street, a girl in a chair, a meeting in silence, a friendship in rhythm, healing through movement, and hope where there was once stillness. There were moments where Miles danced alone, hands stretched wide, as if reaching for something unseen. Then Lily would enter, and together they would move, not just side by side, but soul to soul. The crowd didn't just watch, they felt. When the final note played, Miles lifted Lily's hand into the air, and she raised his. And then complete silence. No music, no clapping yet. Just silence. And then, as if the entire world took a breath, at the same time thunder. A roar of applause. People stood. Some cried. Others simply placed their hands on their hearts. Backstage, as they returned to their dressing room, Lily looked at Miles and asked, was it okay? Miles looked at her and said, we didn't perform, we prayed. And in a way, he was right. They hadn't just danced. They had spoken a language without words. A language the world had forgotten until, to young souls, reminded them. The final step. The first miracle. They returned home from Paris to a world that now knew their names, but more importantly, understood their message. Dance in silence wasn't just a movement anymore. It had become a revolution. Schools began adding it to their programs. Hospitals started holding weekly sessions with music and movement, encouraging kids in wheelchairs, kids with anxiety, kids who had lost hope to express themselves through rhythm. Therapy clinics reached out asking for guidance, and soon, Miles and Lily's dance was being translated into sign language, braille, and even motion-sensing digital experiences. Keanu couldn't go anywhere without someone stopping him and saying, your daughter, she changed something in me. He always smiled and replied, she changed me first. But one morning, weeks after the Paris performance, something happened that no one expected. It began quietly. Keanu was in the kitchen making tea when he heard Lily calling from upstairs. Her voice wasn't panic, but it was urgent. Dad, he rushed up, heart thumping. She was sitting in her chair, notebook in her lap. What is it? He asked. Kneeling, she looked at him with wide eyes. I felt something. He froze. What do you mean? My foot, she whispered. My right foot. I felt a tingling, like warmth. Keanu couldn't speak. He just stared at her. She leaned forward. Get the feather. He ran to the drawer, where they had kept an old soft feather from her childhood, something they used to test feeling in her toes. It had always brought disappointment. This time, he knelt in front of her, feather in hand. You ready? He asked, almost afraid. She nodded. He gently brushed the feather across her toes. Nothing. But then her foot jerked, just slightly. Keanu, drop the feather. Do it again, she said, voice shaking. He brushed again. Again. The foot twitched. Dad, I can feel it. Tears spilled from Keanu's eyes. He covered his mouth, unable to believe it. They rushed to the doctor that day. Scans, tests, more scans. The neurologist looked at them, stunned. There's partial regeneration in the lower spine. It's not full function, not yet, but it's more than we ever expected. Lily looked at Keanu and whispered, it's him, it's Miles, it's the dance. The doctor smiled. I won't argue. Sometimes healing doesn't start in the body. It starts in the soul. When Miles heard the news, he didn't speak. He just showed up that night with his speakers, his notebook, and tears in his eyes. We dance tonight, he said. They went to the garden where it had all begun. Keanu lit candles. The stars above flickered like they were watching. This time, Lily didn't just raise her arms. She stood. Not for long. Not without help. But she stood. Miles held her hand and wept. One step, she said. He nodded. They moved. A single step. But it felt like the whole world shifted. Keanu watched, unable to hold back his emotion. He had spent months imagining what that step might look like. And now that it was real, it felt too big for words. Lily danced. Slowly, shakily, but on her feet when she finally sat back in her chair. The three of them sat in silence for a long time. Finally, Lily said, "You gave me back something I thought was gone forever." Miles looked at her. "You gave me something too, a reason." They both looked at Keanu. "And you," Lily said, smiling, "gave us each other. From that day forward, Dance in Silence opened chapters in 10 more countries. Miles began teaching full-time. He never let the fame change him. He still wore his same hoodie on cold nights and danced in the street whenever music played. Lily began walking slowly, first with help, then with a cane. She said it wasn't about running or dancing fast, it's about remembering I can still move toward something beautiful. And Keanu, the man who had once felt helpless, now stood as the father of a movement that reminded the world sometimes the quietest moments hold the loudest truths. 1 year later, they stood on stage again. This time, Lily walked on her own. Miles stood beside her. Keanu sat in the front row. They danced, but they also laughed, stumbled, and cheered for each other. At the end of the performance, Lily turned to the audience. "We danced in silence, and the world listened. And that night, the applause wasn't just noise. It was love."